Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode at Flipping Houses for Rookies. I'm Dealmaker Bill.
And I'm Pete, the Rookie.
How are you today, Peter?
I'm doing really good.
Yeah? What makes you do really good?
I don't know, just feel good today.
You do?
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, things happen. Some days you wake up, some days you wake up, let's get going.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, I'm having good things are happening.
Tell me.
Well, some of them are like personal things, but it's this. Hey,
so we can't talk about personal things on national radio?
Here we go. All right, we want to start at the top, work our way down. Right.
Is this
is the Pete the Rookie segment. Hang on, Bill. Hang on. So I booked my vacation.
Nice. 2
months back and forth. What do you got? It was a timeshare. What do you got? No, I don't want that one. Nah, I don't want a studio apartment. So, anyways, Bahamas in June. Woohoo!
Nice.
Yeah. Now the flights are ridiculous. Crap. So you got to find a good flight. Okay. That's it. Now, here's a real estate point, actual real estate point from... Did you say uh-oh?
I said, oh.
Okay, I hope it wasn't uh-oh. So, here's the deal.
The question, Pete.
This is real estate stuff.
Tell me.
Okay.
This is not real estate. This is real estate.
This is real estate.
Okay, good.
This is from the kings and royalties.
Okay.
Look up the definition of real estate. Yeah. So, anyways, my dad died a couple of years ago. And had to move in with Mom to take care of the house because she just wasn't able to do stuff and can't write checks and how do you put my pills together. And if she wants to watch, listen to radio, when she's done, she unplugs the plug. She can't turn it off. She's a cute little lady. But I take care of her. Point is, the house was not protected, like with a trust and legal stuff. And if anything happened, like my dad's nursing home bill was huge and had to jump through hoops to protect the home and all that stuff. And get it paid for without using his money. So I found from my lawyer, this is for anybody in this predicament because I had to figure this out for a couple months. If your parents need your help, you can move in with them as long as you have some documentation, like from a doctor that says they need help, they need care. So you move in, you take care of them. In Connecticut, at least, after a couple of years, the house is safe from being absconded by the state if your parents wind up in a nursing home. Yesterday was my 2-year anniversary taking care of Mom.
The deed got swapped.
The deed got swapped. Yeah, I got a quick claim, switching insurance over.
Nice.
All that stuff.
So you're the proud owner of a new $300,000 free and clear house.
Shared with my boys, yes.
I'm going to send you a letter.
Huh?
I'll send you a letter. What's the address?
Bill, you got to understand, that's how I got here. When I realized, okay, I'm going to get the house. What am I going to do with it? Right. I don't want to just sell it, pay bills.
I got some good ideas.
I got some good ideas, too. I'm watching you. But, I just don't want to blow it because, here, boys, here's your $100,000. What'd you do with the money? Paid off the house and bought a bigger one. More debt. No. Anyways, so it was. And
then the final thing is we have a closing in a couple weeks.
Oh, yeah, it's coming along. The closing
that we did.
Closing and things like that. Yeah. Now I got to find another house.
Yeah. We don't want to talk about that on the radio.
No.
I've been talking about that for a month.
Huh?
I've been talking about that for a month. You finding another house.
Yeah.
Go back to work.
Yeah,
you bum.
I am. I've been making phone calls every day.
You're too busy picturing yourself on the Bahamas in your shorts and not working. All right, so this is episode number 36. We're going to move right on, Peter, because I don't want to go into that. I dropped my bombshell.
No, that's okay. I'm done.
Repercussions.
That's all. I'll send you postcards.
Episode number 36. The name of today's show, Pete, is called The $10,000 a Month Technique.
Oh, I think I've seen that word, that title somewhere, but I forgot what it was in my perusings of your materials and stuff.
Yeah.
By the way, how are you today, Bill?
I'm good. I'm a little busy, but I'm good.
Yeah, good.
I got crap going on all over the place.
Hey, by the way, one of my music students is a contractor and used to have a 10-man crew and a GC and all the whole thing.
Nice.
Yeah, and he's on this job that he doesn't like in Middletown. They're putting a prefab 6-story building together, and the parts don't match. The floors aren't even, the walls are lopsided, and he can't stand it. And he was trying to help the guy, but he's going to be available. I might want to try using them. He seems like he might be straightforward.
Good.
I know you're getting busy with your properties and always need guys.
Oh, man. That's what I got to do today. I bought a HUD property, and it's just, oh, my God.
What?
We actually got to meet in the lawyer's office today to sign paperwork for the purchase and sales agreement.
Oh, and you don't usually bother to show up at lawyers to do that stuff.
I do that at I don't even do that for a closing. I don't even show up at my own damn closing.
So why are they asking for it now?
Because it's HUD. They got cross this T, dot this I, underline this, sign this, do that.
Oh my!
I have specific language that has to go on the check, and I got to go to the bank and get a special check.
Wow!
But that's how I make my money.
Hey, small price to pay for the nice chunk of ching you'll get.
$180,000 house, $190,000 house for $77,000. I'll shut up and just go do what I got to do.
Hey, that's the work part.
Yeah. Okay. Like you said, I'm always busy in the beginning and I'm always busy at the end. Thing is I run 3 or 4 of them at a time, so I'm just
There's
damn
no
busy.
middle. You got no middles. Well, I'm in the end of the middle or something. Like I'm scrounging around, but I got my letters going out and mail another 60 today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
Do that
I've been buying a lot off the MLS. I haven't been doing that much. In fact, I have an appointment tonight with one of my students to actually look at a free and clear property. They're moving.
Yeah.
It's actually a probate. And then I have one on Saturday with Jessie that's off of her list. So I haven't been doing any mailings. I need to, but be honest with you, I'm a little bit like I got a lot going on. So, anyways, I don't know why we're talking about all this on the radio, wasting 6 minutes here. So I do want to make one point that I forgot to tell you, and I keep forgetting to tell you. And I'm going to tell you now on the radio just because I think others should know it. Okay. So I actually made arrangements with 2 different attorneys. I have a couple different attorneys, right?
Sure.
So one is Tom, the guy that does all my closings.
Yeah.
And he actually has made, I settled it yesterday. He's actually going to come on our coaching call on Monday night.
Oh.
And answer questions about how to open LLCs and how to run an LLC, because the coaching group had a whole bunch of questions about entities and how to run them.
Yeah. Because
one of the coaching clients had actually a piece of property they bought in their own name and they wanted to put it into their entity.
Yeah.
Because it's a HUD property. So he's going to answer all those questions. I think I'm going to share that. With other people. And then the second thing is the recording. I'll probably cut out some of the coaching stuff, but I'm going to share the part where we're talking to the attorney.
Right.
The other thing is I made an arrangement with another attorney that I know in one of my networking groups. He's a really, really good probate attorney. And he actually put together a PowerPoint presentation, or is in the process of doing that. And we're actually going to do a webinar on how probate works.
Oh, that's good. Like the whole probate, the story.
Yeah, that's exactly. Good. So it's like, the fundamentals of how and why you would use probate. So that's really good. So for any of the listeners that are listening, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put those on the podcast page. So it's flippinghouses.club/podcast. So it's flippinghouses.club/podcast. I'm going to put them on there. I'm not going to keep them there for a while. I'm going to put them up for maybe 3 or 4 weeks because it's it's coaching material.
Yeah.
But I thought that because we're always talking about this kind of stuff, allow some people to just go listen to some of this stuff and see what we're about. Because I've been getting a lot of questions about, do we have training and stuff like that, which we do. We've been releasing it. We have a lot of training. We just haven't been releasing it. We've been hiding it from everybody because I'm not ready for that.
Yeah. Well, even the bits and pieces that I've got, I don't have the whole story. Nice, clear, concise.
So I'm going to release that. I'm going to do the webinar with my coaching clients. I'm not going to open it up to the public because I don't think I don't want to kill the attorney the first time out. But I am going to share that stuff. So if you're listening to this and you guys want to do that, just go to flippinghouses.club/podcast.
Cool.
Actually, there's a whole bunch of stuff. The prospect suspect form is there. How to get some of the training that we have available is there. There's a lot of stuff on that page that can help you. So if you guys have questions, you can just go there.
Great.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Let's get to today's show after 9 minutes of chit-chat.
$10,000 a month.
Technique. Yeah.
I'm all ears.
Right. So the best part about this technique, and you've heard this before, it's just a different name for it, but how many houses do you think you can find that are over-leveraged?
Not sure.
Okay. Do you know what over-leveraged means?
Sure.
What does it mean?
Well, they have a loan on the house for X, and they owe X, even X plus. So they owe as much as the original note.
Right.
They have no equity in the house.
Okay, so let's make it real simple. What is a house actually worth? How do you know what a house is actually worth? What's the true value of a house?
You find out when you sell it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what does the market bear?
Yeah.
So in other words, what is a house worth? What somebody's willing to pay for it.
Sure.
Okay. Now, the bank comes along and kind of throttles that or regulates that, because if it's going to loan on the property, so if I have a $200,000 piece of property and I'm willing to pay $300,000, the bank's not going to loan $300,000, because if I default, they're stuck for $100,000 over market value.
Right.
So the way they do that is they actually do what they call comps or comparables.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which is a little bit of a funky number, because a comparable means if you have an apple, look at another apple.
Right.
Right? But some apples are bigger than other apples.
Sure.
So there's some formulas you use for the big and the small apple, but at the bottom of the day or the end of the day, the price per pound per apple is the same.
Yeah, so they're trying to find out, do they do by square footage? Or
They do.
And anything else, like
all my
how many
comps are by
bedrooms,
square
how many
footage,
baths, that kind of stuff.
So what they do is they try to look at, like you said, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and it's a ranch style house or a colonial style house, on a half an acre of land or whatever, right? And then they may not find them, so what they'll do is they'll find some that are bigger or smaller, so they'll do it by the square foot, just like you said.
Okay, question. Some houses are in bad shape, some are newly renovated, so do they do some kind of average?
That's the part where the variant is, which if you listen to everything we talk about, we call that ARV, which is the after renovated value.
Yeah.
And the reason why we do that is because we have a house that's got that needs a $40,000 renovation, which is common.
Sure.
Okay. So that means it's old. It's usually outdated or old, or it's damn ugly. I mean, the house that I bought yesterday is ugly. But it's pink. The house is pink.
Oh God!
Uh-huh,
I see one more pink bathroom, oh my God!
And wouldn't you know, Peter? This is freaking amazing to me. I can't believe this is even happening to me. Wouldn't you know what's on the damn house? Is those freaking aluminum shutter? You know those awnings?
The awnings.
It's the third or fourth house in a row that I bought that had them damn aluminum awnings on them.
It was popular in the 70s.
I guess so. I can't believe it. With the little loops on. I never noticed them things before. So it's like the third or fourth house. The whole front of the house has aluminum awnings on it. They look like shit.
Yeah, you don't like them anymore, huh?
Well, I love them because they make the house look ugly, and then I can buy it cheap.
Yeah, you're taking them all off, aren't you?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, we did it in the Newington house.
Yeah. And Lucy was that way, and now this house is that way.
Yeah, huh?
Yeah, it's bizarre. I never and look what it did to Lucy Street when we took them off. I mean, Newington when we took them off, that was fine. I mean, I expected that because it's a brick house. But when we took them off of Lucy Street, it was like, wow, the whole house just popped. Between that and taking the landscaping out, it was like, wow, there's a really nice house there. It wasn't much.
Yeah.
So,
especially if it's small, it makes it look smaller, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes the awnings make it look smaller. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But anyways, another sidetrack that we're doing here. So, so you have comparables, and then you have ARV. Now, ARV is a finished, renovated house. It's a house that's up to date. It's got a newer kitchen. It doesn't have a 20-year-old kitchen, and so there's a difference. Now, you can't call the realtor and say, "Can you give me ARV?" unless you've trained the realtor, because they're going to say, "Give you a what? What's that? A shark? Or is that a bear? Who knows, right?" So when you're doing comps, you want to tell the realtor that you want comps on pretty houses that are already renovated, not older houses.
So they could select that. They could select that out.
They have to look at the pictures, yeah.
Mm.
Okay, it's a little bit more work for them. They can't just slap it together from the MLS, but that's the way an MLS. That's the way a comparable should be.
So what are we seeing when us in trainees look on internet and see all the sites with prices on houses? What's that? You know what I mean? Zillow and Realtor.com and all the what are they giving me? That number. A big average.
You mean when you're doing
You're just looking for your own comps.
Oh, I see.
You look up a house, 177,000. What's that number? An average or?
So you have to realize it's an algorithm. And an algorithm is a robot. So it's all math. So it's going to look at likenesses. Like 2 bedrooms, 2.5 bedrooms. So if it's keyed into the MLS wrong, which is where most of them get that data from, then it's not very good. what I do is the first thing I do is when I'm looking at a house, especially when I have a prospect suspect. Often I'll do it sometimes when I'm on the phone with them, but that's because I've done a lot of phone calls and I can multitask. I don't suggest a lot of people do that because it diverts your attention. You should put your attention on the person you're talking to.
Right.
But often, I'll just type in the address and just see what it comes up. And I can't even say that I use that number. I mean, the last couple of times, think about this. When I bought Middletown, right?
Yeah.
I was looking at it as a $300,000 house. I was trying to buy it for $160,000.
Did you see that anywhere online? I know you talked to a realtor. You saw it online too?
Yeah.
And it came in there? What did it come in?
Well, I had $300,000.
Really?
Yeah.
I knew the realtors are saying that. At least one of them.
Then I went to the realtor and I had hell bent trying to push him to $330,000. Now I renovated the house, did more research, and I was at $360,000.
Yeah. That never made sense to me.
Yeah.
It just
then I did
right.
a little bit more research, and I start driving the neighborhood over the course of the renovation, and I talked to this one and I talked to that one. I listed for $390,000.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether it's going to happen. It's either I'm going to completely bomb or I'm going to make a big home run. But either way, I'm going to find out because I did it.
Yeah.
But the point is that sometimes it goes the other way. You know what I mean? You got to be careful because you find out something happened you didn't pay attention to.
Right.
I mean, that doesn't happen too often if you use my system. But the point is the comparables are everything. I mean, what you pick as a selling number is how we do all our math. That's the most important part. Okay, so anyway, so you get some sort of a comparable, and I only use the ones on the website just to get an idea of what the neighborhood is like. In other words, is it a 300,000 or 400,000 neighborhood? Is it a 200? I mean, I don't normally buy $300,000 houses. In my area, that's an upsell.
That's two houses.
Yeah, it's an upsell. I mean, most of our starter houses where we're buying are, 160 to 200. Sometimes, depending on some towns, we might sneak into 220s, 230s. Yeah. But those are starter houses. I think the average medium is probably 190 or 200.
Sure.
But I like the houses I'm buying right now. I mean, they're $180,000, $190,000 houses, and I'm buying them for $70,000, $80,000, $90,000.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And those are bread and butter because those are all FHA. They're all, FHA buyers. They put down 3%. They're easy closings. Okay. So, anyways, we're way off topic. So what happened? I guess that's our motto today. Way off topic. That's the Bill and Pete show. So, anyways. So you get the comp. The comparable is so when you're asking for a comparable, you're asking a realtor for a renovated comparable. In other words, you want it to be up to date and you want to have some idea. Right. And all the comparables are for is to make your decision on what you're going to sell for, and then you want to have comps that are convincing for the bank that's going to buy the loan from your buyer. So in other words, the buyer has to get qualified. So. Like I said, when we started off this whole derailment here, we were talking about getting somebody to pay $300,000 for a $200,000 house. Mm-hmm. That's all well and good, but if you do the comps and it doesn't comp at $300,000, the bank's not going to do it.
So because the bank sends appraisers to see what the house is really worth, because they're not going to loan on more than it's worth because they get stuck.
Right.
Okay.
So, but the appraisers, in my case. If you notice, like with Newington, we had an FHA loan, right? And we did it in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? And the reason why is because there's just certain little tricks that I use. And it doesn't always work that way, but my realtor is been getting indoctrinated and doing things like getting the inspection done early was, the appraisal inspection was huge. Also, having your realtor give them comps. So they do less work. So when the appraiser shows up, they walk them through the house. My realtor's there with them, and they walk them through the house, and they get a touchy-feely for like what the FHA inspector is looking at and what's going on. And often they'll give me feedback so I can know how to nip it in the bud if there's something wrong.
Now, you say FHA inspector, that's the guy who's doing the appraisal?
Yeah.
Okay, not the inspector guy who looks at what needs to be repaired and not that guy.
Does that too.
Well, I saw there were two different things in the house we just did. There was a guy who looked at what was wrong with the house and you need to fix this, that, and the other. And then later there was an appraisal to see what the house was worth, right?
Right. It's your confusion. So,
So explain me there.
So,
My job as a rookie. We got lost. Explain us.
so the inspector is for the protection of the buyer. The buyer hires the inspection.
Yeah.
And that's because it's under the premise that the person that is buying the property is not fully adept on what a property should look like. In other words, they're not mechanical. They don't know about this and about that. So the bank doesn't want to hear later on that, oh, I bought this house and I didn't know there was no hot water heater. Can I have my money back, please?
Right.
And that's the biggest reason why the inspector is done. So the inspector will go in and do the inspection, which is where we have all the trouble, because in my area, and I think it's other areas too, but in my area, the guy charges $400 to do an inspection, and they used to charge $100 or $150. Now they're $400 because they can get away with it. So now what they do is they go and they find all this stuff, and then they justify, well, aren't you glad that I paid you my fee? Aren't you glad you paid me my fee? Because look at all these things I found wrong. So they're intentionally finding things that may or may not be wrong just to put on the report so they can justify that.
Yeah, and the buyer doesn't feel like he wasted his money.
Right.
I spent $400. Nothing wrong.
Now that's all well and good because the inspection is shared with the bank, so the bank's going to look at that. So you're not giving the bank is not going to, unless there's some dysfunctional point or something where the house is where you're jeopardizing the value of the house, the bank won't usually get involved. So what will happen is you'll have to negotiate with the buyer, and the buyer and seller will negotiate on what repairs will get done. Often what I'll do is I'll just give a credit at the closing and let them just go do the repairs themselves. Sometimes people don't want to do that. They actually want the work done. Every closing is different. Once you get through that stage, now what you do is you go out, and the appraiser, who's an FHA appraisal guy, will go out and actually do the appraisal. But if he's in the house and he sees that there's a railing missing and it's not FHA meets their guidelines, then he'll tell them, well, the house is good, but the railing's missing. You got to make sure it gets fixed.
Okay, so is he looking for things on the inspection, or just if it happens? Like, is he going down a list, check?
I've never done an inspection with one of those guys, but from what I understand, it's a list.
Okay.
But there's FHA guidelines. Mostly the guidelines are make sure these things are in the house, because if we go sell it later on, it's a problem if they aren't.
Like make sure there's a furnace.
Yeah. And
some of those houses don't have furnaces.
Yeah, that's right.
I talked to somebody else, like a friend of a friend, and like, what? No furnace?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Jay's house. Remember Jay?
Yeah.
Donna?
Yeah.
When she bought the house, there's no furnace.
Yeah.
A friend of mine.
Yeah.
Well, friend of yours too.
Yep.
I thought that just happened to us when we look at houses.
So why would we be talking about all this stuff with a under the title a $10,000?
Well, I don't know the punchline yet on the title.
Well, so what happens if so what's an over leveraged price? That's how we started this. What's the definition of over leveraged price? And we got off into this whole tangent about what a house is worth.
Oh,
right?
well, in this case, it's more than the bank think it's worth, or
So they have they have a loan, right?
Yeah.
They owe money on the house, and the market brings less than what the loan is owed.
Yeah.
That's an over leveraged price.
Right.
House, right? So they owe $100,000. Market will only bear $80,000. Okay. Now, often those people are left in a short sale situation. Now, a lot of people spout that language. Oh, I'll just do a short sale.
Sounds good. Short sale, like
Right.
a quick out.
Right.
Yeah. I found it doesn't come out like that.
So let's go off on another tangent here, okay? Because what happens is a short sale means that the bank is going to take less than what it's owed. Okay, so if it's owed 100, the bank is owed 100. It's willing to take 80 because that's what the market will bear.
Yeah, but that's got to be special circumstances. They're just not going to do that because
Totally.
you ask, "Oh, please, sir, I dropped my ice cream. Oh, here's another one, Sonny." There's got to be stipulations on that.
Right. So usually that's done in a scenario where they're in a foreclosure proceeding, and it's done in the mitigation process. In other words, mitigation means that they're trying to get there's a team of people that either work for the bank or subcontractors or whatever, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the mortgage person that's paying the mortgage and the bank back together again. They're trying to mitigate them. They're trying to put them back together. Okay, and they usually do that with some negotiation in terms and prices and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so what happens is the mitigators, okay, will work on these deals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, that means before you can get all the way to the point where you can ask for a short sale, you have to, first of all, put the house in a foreclosure setting.
Right.
It's not like you just write, if you're paying your mortgage every month and you write a letter, my house is not worth $100,000.
Yeah, please can I have a
Please
discount?
can I have a discount? You're going to get a no answer.
And if they've been paying the bill every month,
They're not going to do anything.
yeah, they're thinking, yeah, because we just got some information from one of the people at the meetup. He just gave me the name and address of a house that's $20,000 to $30,000 over,
Right.
but they've been paying the bill every month.
Right.
So how are they going to get a short sale?
He's not. There has to be a distress.
Yeah.
So the distress can either be they're not paying because they don't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
Like I lost my right arm, I can't go to work.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can't afford the mortgage payment anymore because the house is too much money.
Lost a job or anything.
Yeah.
Well, and this, just to throw this in there, this particular house, I talked to somebody who referred it to me. A lawyer is trying to get this person to go to the realtor to do a short sale, and
Right.
they've been making the payments all along. And I don't think there's any distress that I know of. So why would a lawyer even suggest that if you can see that it wouldn't fly?
Because he gets fees.
No, don't hold back, Bill. Really, seriously.
But they have to put them into a distress situation, which is first of all stop paying the mortgage for 3
Yeah,
months.
she got to stop paying it. Then she starts getting letters, right?
Right.
Pay your bill, pay your bill, pay your bill. Then
I
pre-foreclosure.
actually have been in a house where we're in homeowners, and I've actually advised it. And my suggestion is this: stop paying, get their attention, but don't stop paying. So in other words, stop sending the money to the bank, but go to a different bank or pay your brother or your mother or your sister and save the money.
Oh, put the money aside for it. Okay.
Because later on when they come back and they say they want a deal, you'll have a chunk of dough. Because I'm going to tell you right now, an average mortgage we'll say is $1,500. We'll just say, right? You go 3 months, it's $4,500.
Yeah.
You go 6 months, that's $9,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so now if you go 6 months and they decide that they want to make some deal with you, you'll have $9,000 in the bank, right? So, but most people don't do that. They'll spend the money on buying cars and shit like
Well,
that.
by rights, they shouldn't have the money available if they really needed a short sale.
Right.
If they really needed it, they wouldn't have it in the first place, honestly.
Right.
But I get your point.
So here's the actual point that I want to make with short sales.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to try to do this quickly, but we're already 27 minutes in. So if you read the book Jekyll Island,
The Creature?
Creature of Jekyll Island, I don't know.
Creature from Jekyll Island.
It's about how our monetary system works.
You call this a system?
Yeah, it's thievery. So you should read that book because that is a phenomenal book on about how the American money works. But the bottom line is this: we print money. The Constitution of the United States from our forefathers, written in 1776, says that we cannot print money. It says it right in the Constitution of the United States. We can make coins, but we can't print money. So these bankers, the Childresses and the Rockefellers and the Chases and all these big money guys, Morgan Chase, made these rules in the early 1900s. They met secretly and they made our monetary system now, and it was very beneficial to them.
Yeah, it's an island off the coast of Georgia.
Yes,
It's a real place. It's not like it's not a movie. It's a real place.
that's right, and it's not by any means. It's definitely real. It's not fiction. So, what they decided to do is they decided to create an entity to print the money, and they call that the Federal Reserve.
Oh, that must be the government, right?
Yeah. So they intentionally, when you read the book, they intentionally named it that way so people would think it was the government.
Yeah.
So they print the money, and so the government calls up and says, we need some money, and they say, how much? Send me $1 billion. Print me $1 billion. So the money says a note, which means that the government technically owns the Federal Reserve $1 billion. Okay? So now they print $1 billion. How do they get it circulated?
No, they don't hand it to me, that's for sure.
So the way they circulate the money is they actually put it in the government's checkbook.
Sure.
Okay? And what the government usually does in most cases is that's where all these Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and all these different mortgage companies came, because they have all this money. They need to get it circulated.
Doesn't sound like real money to me.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the point that I would make here, a side note, is that because they can they have as much money as they need because they can print it on demand, they actually formed income tax to dupe the public so that the public would think that's where the money runs the government, because they don't want people to know that they're getting all this free money.
I've never. You said something about that a little bit the other day, but the way you put it together, duped, to cover up that. I don't remember if you said that before, but that, oh my God, that connects so many dots.
Yeah.
Because it was around the same time.
Yeah.
Just before World War I.
Which is the reason why the IRS is so suppressive, because they're the number one criminals in the country.
Yeah.
They should be locked up because they're stealing from people every day. Right? So, anyway, so it's in the book. Just read the book. The other thing is that, all right, so now all these mortgages have to be spent, right? So because they have so much money, what happens is the bank, like Freddie Mae, we'll say, or is it
Freddie Mac?
Freddie Mac. Yeah, so they'll have all this money, and they'll back the bank for the loan.
Right.
So in other words, here's how it happens. They go to the bank and say, you can send these loans in, and we'll pay you for the loan. So it's not, the bank is not using their money to loan the money.
Right.
So most people think, I'm going to the bank, and the bank is giving me their money. No, they're getting the money from the government. And here's how it works. You take a $100,000 mortgage. They attach the correct paperwork to the back end of the mortgage, which is one document. So in most mortgages are 38 documents, so now it's 39 documents. It's a document that you don't see as a consumer. They attach the document to the note, and they send it into the government, and instead of getting $100,000, they get 10 times the amount of money. So they get $1 million.
Leveraging.
Yeah. So that they can circulate the money.
There's a word for that. Fractionalized? Marginalized? There's a word for that. Marginalized or I don't know. But I've heard there's, they get more than...
Right. So now what happens is, so now you have a loan with the bank, right?
Yeah.
And you don't pay your loan, and they foreclose, right? So they got $1 million for your $100,000 loan. Did they get paid?
Yeah, so they're not really out. Oh, my God, we're out all this money.
They're not.
They have so much more money than you think they lost.
So that's why that's why I don't chase REOs and why I don't do the MLS stuff, because it's a one big fat lie, and people are always perplexed, like, I don't know why they didn't take that amount of money. I gave them a good offer. Because they don't need the money. They're playing a game with you. It's one big fat lie.
Wow, that's horrible.
It's total. It's like you went to the convenience store at 10 o'clock at night to get a pack of cigarettes, and somebody came in with a machine gun. That's exactly what it's like when you get in that scenario
with a pen.
Yeah. Okay.
That's gross.
That's why when you're buying REO properties, it's so difficult. It's the hardest way in the world to buy properties, because because here's what I do know. This is a law in the universe. It's a law of negotiation.
Okay.
The person who wants it the least has the most power.
Yeah.
The person who wants it the least has the most power.
No,
if you're dealing with an REO bank, they got $1 million for a $100,000 piece of property, and they don't need the money. It's just found money to them. Who wants it the least?
Yeah, they don't need.
That's why they got the most power.
The guy behind the desk his paycheck doesn't change no matter what he does.
That's right.
It's not like he's making more or less. Oh, look, they should get bonuses or not bonus. To us, it's actual money.
And the bankers, if you read this book, the bankers insidiously set it up so none of the employees and none of the workers even know this is going on. This is all done. This is like high level.
They don't even know?
Yeah, this is all like high level banking.
Well, who sees that 39th form at the end of the mortgage documents?
The clerks just attach it. They don't know what it is. They don't know how much money. They don't know. They're not taking the form and matching deposits on how much money the bank got. So it's intentionally like all these committees and all these, so nobody can figure it out. It's like it's mastermind. It's the biggest con in the country.
That's horrible.
Okay. So when you have a short sale situation, after what I explained to you, what's going to happen?
What's going to happen?
Yeah.
Is
the bank curious? Are they worried about losing $20,000?
No.
Okay. But they need to put the mask on. and pretend like it's like the end of the world.
Oh my God, we don't have our money. We got to get as much money back. We lost $12,000. Our poor depositors. Yeah.
So I don't know if you notice or not, but in this world, there's not a bunch of happy people. There are actually grouchy, miserable people that like to screw other people. It's their personality. And banks know how to find them and hire them. Seriously. They're suppressive type people. They get their jollies off of breaking other people's balls.
Well, I know people like that are really weaklings at heart. So they like to get in positions where they can get away with it.
They got power.
Yeah,
Small minds, big power.
Like the evil principle of the little children, because the kids can't fight back.
So if a person owns a house that's worth $100,000, right, and the market will only bring $80,000, what do? Right, and here's the other thing that we need to talk about, okay, before we actually release the technique, because you know what the technique is, and you're going to be like,
oh yeah, well I got one in front of me. I need to go over some detail. I have to call her back. I have to call her and go over this.
Right. So the other thing is that most don't realize is when you go to sell a house, there's a lot of caustics, connected to that.
That's right.
And it's between 13 and 14%. Average is 13 and 14%, but it goes from 12 to 15% depending on where you're at.
That's right.
That includes marketing, which we call realtors, because realtors, that's their purpose, is to actually market a property, right, and go find a buyer.
Find a buyer.
Right. It's not their job is not to do the closing for you. Their job is to find a buyer and get a purchase sales contract and then turn it over to the attorney or the closing agent and let them do the rest.
Yeah.
So if you're expecting more than that from a realtor, I'm sorry, but you're misled. Okay. So the 5 or 6 or 7% the realtor charges for marketing, then you got at least 3% closing costs. I mean, in Connecticut, it's 1% conveyance tax. That's just a document that they fill out, 1-page document. Because you're conveying a property from one name to another, they charge you 1%.
And the state gets that.
0.5% for the state, 0.5% for the city.
Yep.
So there's 1%. Then you got
and what's that for? Just because?
Because they can get away with it. So then you got your legal fees, and then you got taxes. Property taxes in some cities they're paid ahead, so you owe the buyer. Sometimes they're paid behind, so the buyer owes you. So you swap that back and forth, right? And then, it just goes on and on and on, and all these closing costs, right? It's going to be about 12 or 13% average. So now here you got this guy that's got a $100,000 house, and he's got $12,000 worth of closing costs that he doesn't even know about.
Right. But he thinks he can only get 80 for it.
And now he thinks he can only get 80 for it. So where's he at?
80 minus 12?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 10, because,
Yeah.
So now he's at $70,000.
Uh-huh.
How does he sell the house?
He has to come up with $30,000.
Or walk away.
Yep.
When he walks away, it ruins the rest of his life because his credit's bad.
Sure.
Right? So how many of those situations do you think you can find?
I got one sitting on my desk now.
They're common. They're common. Now, in an upswing like the market we're in now, they're a little bit less, right? And it's going to be they're going to stabilize up because for the last 8 years we've been selling money at 2 and 3 or 3 and 4%.
Yeah. Low interest rates.
Yeah. But as soon as the interest rates go up and the second tax, which is inflation, comes in and the money starts to change, its worth and its value, then we're going to have a bunch of those houses.
That's on new sales?
No, it's on sales that have already been made.
But their mortgage payment wouldn't change. What would change? Because the mortgage payment's not going to change.
The value of the house.
Oh, yeah.
So if the house is worth 100, if they bought it at 100 and now it's worth 80 because the environment changed, right?
So it's going to get driven down a little because rates are higher and it's harder to
buy. Right now, we're still in the market of the 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Okay. Back when if you could fog a mirror, you got a loan.
Yeah.
So instead of getting 280, they gave you 300. Instead of giving you 300, they gave you 340. They pushed all the margins.
Right. People got over their heads.
Yeah. So now the market changes, like in 10, 11, and 12, United States, right? And all of a sudden, all those values were no longer the same values because the bubble broke.
Right.
Okay. So what do you do with those properties? There are a lot of those properties. Now, I wouldn't say 5 out of 10, but there's probably 1 out of 10 properties, right, that are people in that situation.
Yeah. Well, I know. Well, the one I have now is that situation, and I just got another one across my desk.
So we call it a slot deal. Sandwich lease option transaction. That's your $10,000 a month technique. Because the guy that owes $100,000, okay, you come along and say to him, Pete, you owe $100,000 on your house. Yeah, it's only worth $80,000. Well, if I give you $100,000, will you sell me the house? Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna give me $100,000 for $80,000. Yeah, get me out of this problem. Yeah.
Here's the magic words. I can do it on a delayed cash out. Now, what does that mean?
That means he gets his cash later. It's delayed. He gets the cash. Right. Cash is out to him, but later.
Right. So you get the $100,000. You're just not getting it today.
Right.
You're not getting it in 30 days. And the reason why is because we're going to go find, well, one thing that we know is that 81% of the United States, okay, is not able to get a mortgage. They're not mortgageable.
Right.
Okay, it's over there on the table. Okay, so 81% of the country is not mortgageable right now. So that means only 19% of the country is mortgageable. So that means that if you go on the MLS and you're looking for a quick closing and a cash out right now, you're dealing with 19% of the population.
That's a small piece.
Right. What we're going to do is we're going to dive into the 81% of the population that is not mortgageable, and we're going to tell them you can buy a house, and here's how. You're going to tell them that if they give us a deposit, which is an option consideration deposit, and I'm going to go back and explain these in a minute, but let me get the concept out. So an option consideration deposit, in other words, they're giving you a deposit on the option. And they can lease the property until they get qualified for a favorable mortgage and then pay you off.
So they have the option to buy the house.
They lock the house up, and it's actually their house. So let's explain what an option to buy is.
Yeah.
So it's usually a 1-page document, sometimes 2, depending on how elaborate you want to be. Okay? But it's a 1-page document that says that you own a house and it has equity in it.
Me as a seller?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm the seller. I own a house. I have no equity though.
You have equity in it. Okay.
Am I the seller?
Yeah.
I thought I didn't have equity because I'm over leveraged.
Right. Okay.
No, I lost something there.
Okay, good. So let me finish.
Go ahead.
So you have a property that has equity in it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you are sharing that equity with me.
Okay.
Okay. So the fact that there's no equity in it just means I'm just being a dumbass and I'm signing up for no equity.
Okay. I mean, then the numbers can be whatever, but the loan and the payments, that's that.
Right. So you've heard of a strict foreclosure?
No.
A strict foreclosure means that the bank says to you, they call it a deed in lieu of, is a strict foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
So if you own a house for $100,000 and it's only worth $80,000, the bank can take the deed back in lieu of the property, in lieu of the debt. So they'll just take the deed back and not do a foreclosure proceeding. The only reason why a foreclosure proceeding happens is because you have equity, and the bank has to sue you for the equity.
Oh, I got it.
Because it's non-constitutional to steal your money.
I would think so. It's not right anyways.
Right.
But if there's no equity, they're just taking the house back, and you had nothing to lose anyways, kind of, because you were under.
That's why it's
leverage.
called a strict foreclosure or a deed in lieu of.
So
this scenario that we're doing is kind of similar like that. We're saying that we're going to just take the option in lieu of, right?
So why don't people do that?
Because they don't know you. They don't. Oh.
Instead of a short sale.
If there's no equity, they could.
Huh. I've never heard of that.
If the bank is willing to do that.
Well, there's the willing part.
The bank has to be willing to take the property and put it back in their REO portfolio, which, by the way, the only thing that motivates a bank to sell REO properties is there are strict laws on their percentage of REO properties to percentage of loans that they can release.
Makes sense.
So what does the bank care about? Active loans. So if it's getting all this money from the federal government, it's got plenty of money, then its job is to do what? Get rid of the money. So if you have too many REO properties on your books and your ratios are wrong, and you can't lend any more money, that's detrimental to the banker because that's how he makes his money.
Yeah, he's not in the real estate business. He's supposed to be in the loan business.
So every once in a while, you'll get a good deal because the bank is just trying to fix their percentage. That's the only way you'll get the bank motivated.
So I should call up my bank and say, "Hey, what's your Fortunately,
Fortunately,
your percentage?"
the guy that knows that is not going to answer the phone. Okay.
Well, I got a number from my bank the other day where I have my real estate account. They gave me a phone number.
Yeah.
It's a 1-800 number.
Yeah. Good luck on that.
Yeah, he said that too.
Yeah.
I was just curious. I was just fishing.
So, anyways, so now what happens is you're going to come back to the same old scenario which I just told you, right? So doing it that way is very difficult. So what I'm saying is I could literally give you $1. We usually do $10. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we do 100, depending on the person.
Yeah,
you did
20.
100, yeah. Okay.
I'm down to 20 now.
Okay, good. So yeah, you learned your lesson. So if you use $10 and draw up this document, which is a very simple document, okay. It's called an option consideration deposit. You're buying the $10 buys you equity in the property. So now we're sharing equity. Mm-hmm. Because I'm sharing equity with you, it makes me part owner of the property.
Right.
Because I'm part owner of the property because of this option consideration thing, mm-hmm. I don't need to have a license to sell your property.
Yeah, it's your house. You can sell it.
Now I own part equity in the property. It's kind of like being a shareholder in a like GE. Yeah, I own 3,000 shares of GE. Yeah, well, there's 10 million shares. I only own 3,000. You understand? Mm-hmm. But I still own it. Mm-hmm. I'm still considered a stockholder.
Right.
Right. So it's the same thing with an option agreement form. Yeah, there may not be any equity in the house, and I might only give you $10, but I'm still a shareholder. Mm-hmm. I still got some say.
That's right. Even if the business is up or down.
Doesn't matter.
No, because you have a piece of whatever it is.
Right. So you're in for the loss or you're in for the gain.
Right. People, I've done a few of these, been on the phone with people doing it, and they ask, "Is this your house?" I said, "Well, I'm a part owner.
Right.
I'm helping the other guys sell it."
Right.
And they don't ask any questions beyond that because it's true. I'm a part owner.
Right.
I own 3 bricks.
You own 3 bricks for $10.
Yeah.
So the first question is if you can buy houses with $10, which is why we call it a slot. It's actually a joke. Mm-hmm. You put $10 into the slot machine, and now you go sell it, and somebody gives you $10,000.
Cha-ching, 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 cha-ching.
There's your $10,000 technique. So let me explain how that happens. So I sign up with the person that owns the house for $100,000, right? Mm-hmm. And tell him I'm going to get him $100,000 on a delayed cash out, which in this case is probably going to be 2 years or more.
Sure.
Probably 2 years.
Yeah.
Minimum 2 years. I'm going to go find one of these people that is not qualified for a bank mortgage. And I'm going to advertise house for sale, no bank qualifying. They're going to come along and they're going to look at the house and they're going to say, I like this house. Okay, here's how it works. The price of the house is $110,000. Now, the first barrier I run into when I explain this is why would somebody pay $110,000?
Somebody pay $100,000? Yeah, exactly.
Reason why is because they can't get a mortgage and the wife wants to move or they want to be in a school district or where. You're not taking advantage of anybody because it's just not true. I mean,
well, they're paying rent someplace else and not getting any equity in their apartment. So if they have to pay a little more rent for another year or two to have a house finally be theirs, they're still ahead of the game. Believe me, I've talked to a number of people. I've had people in houses. They look around. This is a great house. They're so thankful. They're actually, this is great. They don't like, oh, it's too much. You know, if they can afford it, they can afford it. If not, they don't. But no one says, oh, it's too much because they're really grateful that they have a shot at getting a house.
Right.
I've asked people, so why do you want? What kind of house you want? The guy goes, anything. Just give me a house.
Right.
I just want a house.
Right. So technically, the guy's paying about $400 a month. Because if you take $10,000, he's paying $400 a month extra for 2 years. Mm-hmm. I could tell you, after being in the car business for a very long time, if you're a subprime buyer, which is what this guy is, you're not paying 4% interest. You're paying 8 or 9% interest. You're paying a lot more than $400 a month. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you're not robbing anything. You didn't create his situation. He did. But here's the value. Not only is he getting the house, but he's got you to help him fix his credit and get a favorable mortgage because we're going to turn our mortgage people onto him and they're going to work with him and they're going to do credit repair and they're going to do all the things that he needs to do and he's going to get into a program on how to get his life fixed.
Yeah.
Because most people don't know how to do that.
That's how they got in that condition.
That's right. Or they don't know how to get out of that position.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not every one of our tenants take us up on that, and they end up losing their money.
Because that's how they started.
That's how they started. But I'm not going to hold a gun to their head to fix their life, that's for sure.
No.
But the ones that do it end up with beautiful houses and end up with beautiful situations. Mm-hmm. And not only do they get their houses, but they end up buying new cars, and they fix their credit, and they buy better furniture, and their whole life is better.
Yeah.
So that's worth something. Okay?
They're buying the way out of a predicament. And they sometimes, I mean, honestly, I have a guy that has bad credit because of divorce. He has $400,000 in a 401k, and he could take $40,000 of it to put as a down payment.
Right.
But he can't get a loan from the bank.
Right.
So I'm working with him to get the house.
Right.
And nice people.
And there's a lot of people
These
like
aren't
that.
bad people
He's
at all.
a
They're
construction
really,
guy.
Yeah, the guy. He's an iron
a
worker.
maniac.
He saved somebody's life a couple months ago. It was a burning fire, 5:30 in the morning. People are taking friggin' pictures with their camera, with their phones. He ran in and pulled a couple people out, and he got a commendation a month or two later. Yep. These are nice people, but things happen.
Right.
Very nice people, and you want to help them.
So now you take that guy, and he gives you $10,000. Now, it's a non-refundable deposit. This is not like renting where you got to keep it in the bank and all that kind of stuff. The lease says that he fixes the toilets, he shovels the driveway, he pays the water bill. The way the lease is written, my lease is very stringent, very strict with all that stuff. And we explain that. My closings take about an hour and a half because I go through every paragraph and I explain it. And I actually record everything nowadays so that I can have it on file. Mm-hmm. And I explain all their rights and what they got to do and how it works. Okay, so their $10,000 is actually, now we use $10 to buy the option. They're using $10,000 to buy it from us. We now assign our portion of our rights to him.
Right, he gets the right to the house, and he gets $10,000.
So the seller, let's go through it again.
Yeah.
So the seller sells to me on an option, and I give him $10.
Yep.
Okay, and sometimes they ask for more. So realize that we need to deal with that. We'll talk about that in a second. But
okay.
In this scenario, we give him $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm sorry. We give him $10. We give the seller $10.
Yep.
Our buyer gives us $10,000.
Right.
So we made $9,990.
Mm-hmm. I like the sound of that.
Now, what happens if the guy that doesn't want $10? He wants $3,000 for a deposit.
Well, that might be a fair request. Can't we give that to him from the $10,000 we get?
Exactly. So the amount of money that your profit or your fee is going to come from the difference in the deposits you promised your seller and the deposits you collect from your buyer.
Right.
And that's how you make your money.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't need any money. You don't need any credit. You don't need private lenders. You don't need to deal with rehabbing. You don't have to do any of that. And I strongly, strongly advise anybody starting in this business, use this technique, because what I do know is this. I tell you this all the time. If it takes 10 steps to do a real estate transaction, and you get a deal, and you get through the first 3 steps, and the deal blows up. The second deal, you got the education from those first 3 steps. Now you're that much smarter. So you might make it to step 5 or 6.
Yay.
That deal may blow up, and I know the third deal. Now you've got the education of the first 5 steps, so you can get a little bit further.
That's right.
Okay? Yep. So I know for a fact that your first deal may not be the one that you make money on.
Mm-hmm.
So why not use your time, energy, and money to go do these slot deals, the $10,000 a month technique, do one a month, and get used to doing real estate. Build your team this way. Find your lawyers, find your insurance guys, find your realtors, find the people you need to work with, maybe a handyman. I know with us, we always have we always clean them.
Yeah.
So get a cleaning person, right? Get your LLC set up the first time you collect a $10,000 check. Now you set up your LLC. You don't need to go set up all your business stuff and do all that before you do business. Get a deal first and use the proceeds from that deal to set everything up. Right?
Absolutely. Well,
So set up your LLC, your insurance companies, and all that.
Yeah, I took a house that was very over-leveraged, and it didn't look like a great deal, but I needed to practice, and I learned a lot from it. I'm still dealing with that one. I'm still getting buyers. So whether it happens or not, I've learned a lot from it. For the next one, I still might get it.
Right.
So I was glad to learn. I had to learn.
Right.
I was fumbling around things and putting up signs and getting documents and forms and what do you do first, second, third. When a really good one comes along, I don't want to be fumbling.
Right.
And I still might make money on this one. It's not over yet.
No, you got some good prospects there.
Mm-hmm.
The point is work on those deals instead of trying to do a flip, where you got to get all these moving. I mean, look what I'm going through. I got to go sit down with my lawyer and my realtor to sign the frickin' purchase and sales agreement because HUD has. I mean, that's just nonsense. If you want to do that, that's fine. It's just there's a lot. It's a lot riskier for a new person to lose money in those scenarios than it is in a slot deal because the only thing you got to risk here is the $10 or the $100 that you gave him.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the guy says, I want a $3,000 deposit, you tell him, okay, here's $10 for the document. When I go find my buyer, I'll get you the $3,000.
Sure.
Okay, so you only have $10 risk. How many houses could you buy, Pete, for $10 at a house?
Right now, right out of my wallet, 9.
Nice.
9. That's not counting checks. That's cha-ching cash. No, when I do these, I pull out, here's $20. I hand them $20. Oh, thank you. They hand it to here, go buy some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, excuse me. So that's how you do it.
Yeah. But there's an important point to me that when you start working in real estate, you do some marketing, people start calling you. The deal is what the deal is.
Right.
And it almost doesn't matter what you're looking for. I mean, if you're panning for gold and you found silver, what would you do?
Right. Throw the silver back?
Not me, baby.
Right.
Copper. I'll take the copper.
Right.
So the deal is what the deal is. And if you think, oh, man, the guy owes more than the house is worth, forget it. Bye-bye. You just walk past the deal. Take it.
Right.
And if you want to rehab, well, maybe that'll come up next month or next week or next.
Well, not only that, but now you start talking deals. You start talking, it's going to provoke you to start talking to money guys. I got this deal, I got that deal, and it's all real. So you'll start finding money guys, your private lenders. Your family will start realizing that you're doing deals, and they're like, oh, this is for real.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Now store up. Do a couple of those deals, $3, $4, $5, $10,000 deals. Store up a little bit of cash. Mm-hmm. Now you have working capital to go do a different type of a deal.
Yeah. I've been funding my business through my, quote, retirement monthly installments, but now we have a couple deals coming through. Yep. That goes in the account, and that funds the business now.
Yep. All right, so the last thing I want to cover, because we're at about 57 or 58 minutes, we're going to go over it again. How do you find these deals? I'm going to tell you the best, fastest, easiest way to find these deals. For sale by owners.
Oh.
Because for sale by owners, their biggest button is... They don't want to pay the fees.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the dust on this thing. I don't want to pay the fees.
Right. And some of those are just over-leveraged. Or is that one of the reasons they can't pay the fees? I mean,
that's exactly right.
If it's over-leveraged, they can't pay the fees. I know some people are just asking too much money, but some of those are over-leveraged.
Right.
I got you.
So their choice is they can, if they're over-leveraged, their choice is they can do a short sale. Or foreclosure, and they can walk away and kill their life.
Does a short sale wreck their credit too?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like a foreclosure. It's just you had to go through the procedure and then, Jesus.
Well, it shows up on the credit report. Let's put it that way.
Uh-huh.
The problem with for short sale is suppose they were to do a short sale and there's a $20,000 loss there. If they don't do the short sale correctly, that's going to show up in their taxes next year as income.
Oh, my God. Because they were forgiven $20,000, so they kind of earned $20,000.
It goes from a liability to an asset.
Oh, my God. And have to pay taxes on it?
So if the foreclosure proceeding's not done correctly, with a forgiveness, short sale, then they pay the taxes on it. So they get you coming and going. So that you can get yourself into that trap.
They make it sound so good. Short sale.
Right, exactly.
Hey, I should have brought the form in today. I just got it in. I didn't bring any materials today. I should have brought that to show you the numbers on that.
So anyway, so you could do the short sale. You could lease the property and become a landlord, so you become an unwanted landlord. Mm-hmm. Or you can do what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? So which of the three solutions are going to look good to them? How many of those people would say yes to you?
A lot of them. I mean, the ones I've talked to thought it was a great deal.
So if you don't have money and you have time, and you want to start this business,
And if you're scared, right?
You're scared.
If you're nervous.
if you think that you don't want to talk on the telephone, you can go to flippinghouses.club/podcast. You can get the prospect suspect form there. You can download it there. Okay. Print some prospect suspect forms. Get on the computer, find some for sale by owner sites, and just start making phone calls. And then next thing you know, you're going to find one. And when you find that deal, email me through contacts, through our contact, and I will help you with the forms, the slot deal forms.
Right. And by the way, how long do you put in the contract to represent the person, try to sell the property?
90 days usually.
And after that, just walk away? Or renew if it looks high?
Renegotiate, depends on what's going on.
Yeah. And if anybody thinks, isn't that terrible, what do realtors do after 6 months if they don't sell your house?
Right.
And they didn't even give you $10.
Right.
So it's nothing different. There's no guarantees in this world. So you're trying to help someone. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you do your best.
Well, the difference between me and the realtor is I have equity in the house.
Mm-hmm.
I have more to gain than the realtor does.
Mm-hmm. The commission is the deposit that you'd pick up would be more than the little bit of commission that a realtor would get. And then he has 40 or 50 houses he's trying to throw nets for, see which one comes in, and we have 1 or 2 or 5 or 6, whatever, at a time. Okay.
So if you did one of those a month,
$10,000
a month. It's definitely something you do when you have a job. You can do it at night. You can do it on Saturdays. You can do it on Sundays. It's definitely something you can do a couple hours a week and get started.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Sounds good.
All right, Pete. Until next week, go to flippinghouses.club. If you want to see how a slot deal actually works, just go to flippinghouses.club. There's 10 videos there. Each video explains the different techniques, the 7 different techniques I use. And there are videos there on how to do a slot deal. It's the math and how to actually do the deal structuring. So just go there and check it out. It's for free. Or you can go to flippinghouses.club/podcast to actually get this podcast and the other podcasts. I think we said we're on podcast 36. So you can go get the other 35 podcasts. There's a lot of good stuff in there. We've been doing really good with the podcast. There's a lot of people listening to us. So I want to shout out to all of you that are listening and say thank you. When you go on the podcast page, if you look on the top right-hand side, there is a button there that says subscribe to iTunes. And right below it, if you're not using iTunes, you're using Google Play or Stitcher or one of those other things, there's a button right below it. So you can go subscribe to any one of the platforms. Please take a moment out and actually like us and subscribe to us. And if you're in iTunes, please leave us a good review if you like us. Leave comments, even if you think Pete's jokes are good or bad. Just leave a comment.
What jokes?
No jokes today. So just go to iTunes or whatever platform you're using and please leave us a review because that helps us a lot. I feel like a lot of you are emailing us and saying what a great podcast it is because we give a lot of information. I think that's awesome. The exchange that I'm looking for is to subscribe to us or leave us a good review because that helps us a lot. Mm-hmm. Okay.
How about requests?
If they want to send any requests in, they can go into flippinghouses.club and go to the contact page, and you can contact us there.
And questions and stuff.
Or you can go to info@flippinghouses.club. info@flippinghouses.club. It's email. At the end of the trailer, the music that you're going to hear has all that information in it anyways. So if you have any questions or have any suggestions on shows that you want us to do, just go to info@flippinghouses.club. Okay? So there's all the housekeeping, and we're over now, Pete. Have a good week.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.